Hey guys, welcome back to the channel for episode 4, and today we are doing an honest Q&A with some mini challenges. So our producer Lewis has picked all the questions, so if yours hasn't been picked, I apologise, blame him. And then also at the end of the video, we'll be announcing our competition winner from last week for the £1,000 of 6 Nico vouchers, and also how to enter this week's competition for another £1,000 worth of vouchers. So let's crack on with this episode. The first set of questions that we took from our community that commented: what's the hardest thing about running 6 by Nico that nobody talks about? A bit of a hard question. Yeah, for me, I think people see it as it's a really creative concept, but the thing I always say is it's a great idea, but we still have to obviously challenge ourselves and walk the walk every 6 weeks, you know. Every 6 weeks we've got to get a new creative campaign, food development, new procurement process, food technical process. We've got to fly all our chefs up to Scotland, train them for the day, fly them all back to the units. So there is quite a operation behind the scenes. Yeah, I'd say that's probably the unseen bit of 6 by Nico, is the actual implementation of creating that menu every 6 weeks and the process that we've got to go through to do it UK-wide as well. If you could change one thing about the restaurant industry, what would it be? What I think the industry is missing is an apprenticeship scheme. Trades like, you know, painters, joinery, plumbing, they all have apprenticeship schemes where they're getting support to help train and develop talent. I think that is what is missing in our industry. I think it's actually a bit of a concern because I think there's not a lot of talent coming through. And the reason for that is because the cost pressure on businesses, you know, high inflation, energy costs, minimum wage, everything going up, it's putting a lot of cost restraints. So to employ somebody to then have to teach them is a very costly exercise, especially when you've got to allow people to make mistakes, to learn and evolve. And just now, I think costs for businesses are so high that businesses can't afford to train and develop talent. So one thing I think that I would change in the industry is try and somehow implement an apprenticeship scheme where people are given support to take people and train them and commit to that person commit to the business and train them in your business. If 6 by Nico expanded into a new country, where would you want it to be? This one's actually quite interesting because this is something we're exploring. We've already explored Dubai and we're really close to that at one point. And right now we're in the process of exploring Europe. So we're exploring Germany, France, Paris and Madrid in these geographic locations. If I could wave a wand and put it somewhere, I'm not 100% sure, but just now it's definitely part of our discovery phase and it's something that we're investing in to explore. What's the biggest menu disaster you've ever had at 6 by Nico? I wouldn't say 6 by Nico, this was actually home by Nico. During lockdown, we decided to come up with a chippy box for our customers. So Andy, basically one of our top guys, he basically created this chippy box where it went out and you actually cooked all 6 courses. And obviously at that time at COVID, everything is so fast and reactive and everything's all over the place. He created the box and it had 96 items in it. First of all, it was such a disaster. Our teams in the restaurants had to genuinely do, I think it was like 2 all-nighters to try and actually get these boxes out. And then when they went out, people were saying it was like taking them 4 hours to get their meal. It was genuinely, I don't know what we were thinking, but they were genuinely like prepping 90% of this experience from scratch. And it was just like, yeah, we just made a big mistake. So like put major stress on our team for getting it out, and also the customers, it took 4 hours for them to actually do this experience at home. So I'd say that was the biggest disaster, because when you put out like, I think at that time it was like £100,000 worth of boxes, and then like that feedback, and we had to, yeah, that was probably the biggest disaster I can think. So now we are going to do some rapid fire questions, which our camera guy, Lewis, is going to ask.
What is your favourite colour?
Celtic green.
What's the worst mistake you've made in the kitchen?
Pass.
What's the all-time favourite meal to cook?
Probably pasta, any kind of pasta.
What's your proudest achievement so far?
I think just like the actual journey and expansion of 6 by Nico.
Who's your biggest culinary inspiration?
Probably Gordon Ramsay, in terms of like how such a quality chef has achieved so much. Yeah.
How do you unwind after a busy service?
Family, just home, chill, watch TV, weekends with the kids and wife.
What's your biggest kitchen pet peeve?
Just organisation.
What's your go-to comfort food?
Go-to comfort food, probably like a pizza.
What's the first dish you ever cooked?
Oh, it'd have been something like Angel Delight back in the day.
If you had to cook one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pasta.
Pasta. Okay, that's all.
That's it.
That's it.
It was easy. Have you ever scrapped an entire concept last minute? Yes, and several times. Like, I think people think that we have these themes, like, and we've always tried to plan them out, but we can have a team invested doing a creative, and genuinely there could be an idea or a trend happening, and just like another creative seed that comes, and if we genuinely believe it's better, we would pivot the whole strategy to that. Like, up until like a week before announcement, we've changed things. I'm not saying it's right, but like, I think if we always, no matter what, if we always think something's better and really believe in it, we would try and pivot. So yes, we have scrapped entire concepts last minute and then maybe reintroduced them in the future at another date. Do you actually care about negative reviews, or do you just ignore them? So I'm not sure if that's a troll, but yes, of course we do care about negative reviews. It's actually kind of like what feeds everything. Like, we genuinely always listen, review it every day, look at performance. If stuff's consistent and we think we've got to tweak dishes, we make those changes. But yeah, for us, it's like one of the biggest KPI and focuses on a daily basis is like the performance of the day before and the reviews and feedback. There's ones that I wouldn't say you ignore, but ones that you kind of see trends of that you don't think you can change because it's part of your DNA. For example, like, we get comments that it was very loud, and we know like the kind of atmosphere we want to create with that vibrant music, that energy of the open kitchen. Those ones you can't really, unfortunately, help. You just got to accept that that's part of the brand. But yeah, we take on all negative reviews on a daily basis, and it kind of steers our business. So now on to our next segment, this or that. Lewis obviously wants to get a bit of camera time here and hear his voice, so he'll be asking the questions again.
Okay, that is not why, but here we go. Crisps or chips?
Chips.
Burger or pizza?
Pizza.
Pasta or noodles?
Pasta.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Takeout or home cooked meal?
Home cooked meal.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Burgers or tacos?
Burgers, we've not asked that already?
Yeah, we have.
Okay.
I need to know. Burgers or tacos?
Burgers.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Vanilla.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunset.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Soft or hard?
We shoot that again, you can't say that. Now for the next round of questions. So, do you yourself cook in any of your restaurants? Yes, not a lot, not as much as I used to. That's been one of the things, as probably the business has expanded and grown. It's been a more of a distance. But when I go around and see sites, try to do a wee bit. Obviously all the new openings, like for example in Bristol on Friday, I'll be down there for 10 days for the launch cooking. So not as much as we used to, or not as much as I used to, but yeah, It's kind of just the way the business is just now. Definitely throughout the process, I was through the journey, yeah, but now it's kind of getting a bit less. What's the inspiration behind constantly changing the menu at 6 by Nico, and how do you decide on the themes of each new experience? So the inspiration behind it was, what was the inspiration? I genuinely think it was like the challenge of like constantly creating, reinventing, being different. Why? Yeah, it was just all those wee things, that how the idea and concept came about. Why can't, it was just almost like asking the question, why can't we just change what we do? And then from then, how often do we change? And that's how kind of 6 by Nico was born. So I'd say that was like the kind of inspiration behind it. It was just kind of brainstorming and kind of challenging ourselves. And how do you decide on themes? So how we decide on themes now is like, we're fortunate we have a large creative team, and that's through chefs, creative and marketing. It's just getting together and finding that what we call creative seed, and where that is a theme like Once Upon a Time, or Down the Rabbit Hole, or the Chippy, or a destination we want to explore, like, you know, Tokyo, Vietnam, or Rome, or now that gamified version like Murdered Mystery. We just try and find that creative seed that we think would be fun, challenging, and also connect with our community. And then from there, we just take that seed and evolve it. You know, it goes through that creative process, marketing strategy, that food development, creation. But yeah, I think it all kind of just stems from that creative seed. And that creative seed is really like the main question, like, how do we think this will connect with our community? And then it all just kind of evolves from there. Is your Liverpool restaurant going to reopen? Unfortunately, in that site, no, it's not. It's still going through legals just now, but we are very, very, very close to completing the deal on another restaurant. So we are hoping that we will be opening in Liverpool in a new location this year. Unfortunately, in that site, I can't really disclose it, but we can't open in that site. But we are hoping to come back to Liverpool later this year, and we are very close to confirming it. Very close. So our next segment is hot take questions, and the final time you'll be hearing from Lewis.
Do you think Gordon Ramsay is a better chef than you?
100%.
Why?
He's the best chef, one of the best chefs in the world.
Do you think you'll ever be better than him?
Nah.
Okay. Hard work beats talent.
All the time.
Why?
The one thing you can control the most. Like, there's so much things in the world that you can't control, like what people think about you, what the government's doing, taxes, everything. The only thing that the biggest variable and the one thing you can control is hard work. For me, that's always going to be the difference maker, because it's like the one thing that you can actually control.
Cool. Is fine dining overrated?
No, I don't think so. Not at all. No, it's like a totally different, yeah, it's like an experience, isn't it? It's like, it might be a different price point, it might be a different setting. Depends what you say is fine dining. I'm taking like price point, but that price point's there for a reason, and like, because those people are sourcing, using the best produce in the most creative way, and trying to do it as consistent every day and create like the most unique experience. So that comes with like a high price point. So no, I don't think it's overrated at all.
Does expensive food always mean better quality?
No. Sometimes like the cheapest cuts are like oxtail, like slow braises. Like, I love lamb belly. It's my favourite cut in lamb. So yeah, definitely not. I'd actually maybe say the opposite. Cheaper cuts are always more tastier, I think.
What is your opinions on tipping?
If you've enjoyed your meal and you feel that the team warrants a tip, they should get a tip. But I do feel that tip should be shared with the team. I do feel the KP should get a portion of that tip. I think the chefs should get a portion of that tip. I even think, for example, the customer relation team behind the scenes, I think the marketing team, I think like the team behind the scenes as well should get a portion of that, because there's a lot of work that goes into creating that experience in that restaurant, as well as just the team that are operating that day. So yeah, I think that if deserved, it's great that the team get tips, but I do think that tip should be shared equally with the wider team. That helped create the experience.
Yeah. Can you call yourself a chef without working in a restaurant?
Is that yeah.
No.
Can you call yourself a chef without working in the restaurant?
So you're maybe somebody who's been experimenting your whole life at home,
Of course, yeah.
but then you've never worked in a restaurant, so are you really a chef?
Then you'd be a cook, wouldn't you?
Yeah, like you.
Oh no, I'm not. No, I'm a chef.
kidding.
Yeah, but no, I think if you've not worked, let's just say if you've not worked in a restaurant, you're a cook.
Okay, so you can't be a chef.
Yes,
if
I would
you
never
haven't
go and
worked in a
call my
restaurant.
nonna a great chef. She's a great cook.
Okay, cool. Is food criticism too harsh on chefs?
I don't think so. I think any criticism is hard. I think people have just got to learn to get thicker skin. You know, I think like how naive and arrogant you have to be to think that you're going to go through life without any criticism or negative feedback or people with different opinions to yourself. I think all you can do is, you take that feedback on and stay humble throughout the journey and try and either take it on board and learn from it, or if you genuinely believe it's not true, just dismiss it. But I think there's that kind of give and take on it. Yeah, so I don't, that'd be my answer for that one.
Last one. Should chefs be judged more on taste or innovation?
That's a good question. I'm not saying this is right, but for me, innovation. So like a restaurant I love is like I've never been, but like I admire from the sidelines is like 3 Michelin star restaurant called Alinea, and they challenge themselves every day for their team. Nothing stays on their menu. I think it's like longer than 6 months. They never put dishes back on, and they've challenged themselves for that constant innovation. Now that's a special restaurant, like worldwide reputation. People aren't going to, not many people go there twice a year and be like, oh, this is the same dish. It's not even a problem for them. But I just think like the challenge they set themselves to innovate and like to push back, I think that's more special than like creating something that you think is amazing and then just never changing it and being on the menu for like 20 years. So yeah, I think they both have their place, but personally I think innovation. Cool, so these are the final 5 questions. So question 1, how do you avoid burnout? There always looks to be so much thought and love put into everything at 6 by Nico, which is a nice thing to say. How I avoid burnout is, to be honest, I'm quite lucky that like I genuinely love what I do. So like I don't see it as work. Like I just like genuinely from like when I launched 111 by Nico, I genuinely don't think I've worked a day in my life. Like I enjoy every day I come to work. So like for me, like I'm just quite fortunate. Burnout's not a thing for me because it's it's just not a thing for me. I really enjoy what I do. So I guess I don't avoid burnout because I don't feel like I'm working.
Have you ever burnt out before?
No.
Ever?
Never.
That's impressive. Well done.
What's your daily routine? Love the new videos. By Lewis Holmes, our camera guy. Daily routine. I get up quite early. I've got 3 kids, so normally up at like kind of 5:30, 6 at the kind of latest. I don't always get there, I try to do some form of training in the morning, whether that's a boxing PT or whether that's going for a run or I try my hardest to try and get 5 times a week. But sometimes, depending on how late I'm working the day before, it's not always possible. So yeah, morning routine is kind of always up early. Try to train, don't always get it in there, but try my best. and normally making breakfast for my kids, which results in like making 8-9 different things because they pick at it and then change it. So it's like pancakes and toast and then cereal and then nothing gets eaten. So normally, yeah, it's like an hour and a half of almost like the most cooking I do that day, organising their breakfast. But yeah, that's my kind of morning routine. Take the kids to school every morning, 8:30 drop off, and then head to work. Yeah, that'd be it. So now on to the last question. What have been your biggest regrets or mistakes over the journey? A mistake that I think I've made consistently, which is I just have this real bad habit of moving very fast, and like for some reason, and I always tell myself not to do it, but I end up doing it, and then when I make a mistake, I'm like, why do it? But I do everything company wide instead of testing. So for example, we had an idea of implementing a new booking system kind of maybe like 3 years ago. Had all these things like waiting lists, prepayments to help, kind of no-shows, all this cool technology, and changed the whole booking system where like we only released bookings when the theme was announced. So all these kind of changes, and at the time it all seemed like the right reason. And instead of just doing this, for example, in Manchester and testing it out, I just said, let's go and do it company-wide. And we ended up having to change back the booking system 1 month later, and it probably genuinely cost us about, I think it was like something like £500,000 of revenue it cost us, just from like confusing the booking process, creating barriers to entry, like just changing it and doing it company wide. And it was just like we stopped forward bookings way in advance. It was just a kind of a stupid mistake. And yeah, that's a mistake I've made a lot, and I do it quite consistently, which isn't good. But when I have ideas and changes, instead of testing it in a site and making sure it works, I just get excited and do it company wide, and then yeah, it costs me money. Thank you everyone so much for watching episode 4 and for all your questions. I'm so sorry if we didn't get a chance to get through them all, but if this is something you'd like to see again in the future, please let us know. And yeah, thank you very much. For this week's competition, guys, what I need you to do is to like, subscribe, and put in the comments what content you would like to see in the future, whether that's a challenge, another Q&A, behind the scenes, day in the life, anything like that, let us know. And that is for a chance to win £1,000 again of 6 by Nico vouchers. So like, subscribe, and put that comment in. So now, finally, on to picking the winner for last week's competition. You know how it goes now. The random comment picker, we're going to pick a random comment, and that person gets the lucky £1,000 of 6 by Nico vouchers. So let's find out who is our lucky winner. And the winner is Paul Flynn. Which cities around the world would most suit a new 6 by Nico restaurant? I think we answered that as well. At Paul Flynn 3733, you are our winner. One of the team will get in touch and arrange those vouchers for you. Thank you so much again for your comment, and thank you everyone for watching episode 4. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully see you next week.